Fighterfly from the original Mario Bros game was supposed to be in Mario Power Tennis. Or did you know this guy was going to replace Baron Burr in Mario Galaxy? Well, today we're looking at the most fascinating unused enemies and characters that were cut from Mario games. And you probably didn't know most of these guys even existed because neither did I before making this video. Let's go! For starters, Mario Galaxy actually has quite a bit of unused enemies in it. The first of which is this pig-like statue called a flame gun. There's several animations of this thing still in the game's code, and it looks to be breathing fire on the player. Then there's this like weird looking cursed model of a toad that was found. This guy isn't friendly though, as he'll hurt Mario when he comes in contact with it. So it looks like it was gonna be some sort of weird evil toad initially. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a pretty happy-go-lucky Mario spin-off game. Which makes you think, what is this unused enemy? It's this little cube guy holding a knife with the name Stalker. Jeez. Now this is definitely just a super early design, so I presume he wouldn't have been this blocky, but still. I mean, his only animations are to run towards the player. Ugh. Speaking of unsettling enemies, let's take a look at Luigi's Mansion now. Just take a look at this unused ghost enemy with the file name ELH. People hacked the character back into the game and found his animations in the files. There's his standard animation with his droopy arms, his appearing animation where he comes out of the floor, or he even attacks with his long arms too. Jeez. Mario Power Tennis has a pretty interesting character roster as is. But it looks like at one point it could have been even more crazy. Because there's an unused 3D model for a character called Fighterfly in Mario Power Tennis. If you've never heard of this guy, then I don't blame you, as he was only in super old Mario games like the original arcade Mario Bros, for example. In the original Mario Strikers, you have captains and the sidekicks, which are just random species in the Mario universe. However, people dug into the files of this game and found what the sidekicks were originally gonna be. And it looks like each captain was gonna have original characters for their sidekicks based on their design, so like mini versions of them. There's 3 different characters for Mario's sidekicks and 3 versions of Donkey Kong's. These look really interesting and definitely makes me want to see them in the full game. Also in the files, there's a bunch of unused background characters we've never seen before, like a security Pianta and a medic Drybones. Plus, there's this really odd Peach Guard looking Goomba that was most likely gonna be used somewhere in the scrapped Peach Palace Stadium. Neat. And if you think these guys are interesting, just wait until you see the unused characters later in the video, one of which was lost for 20 years before being restored. But for now, let's look at Mario Sunshine, which is the only 3D Mario game without Goombas in it. However, that wasn't always the case, because in the files of the game, there's an unused picture of a Goomba in the Mario Sunshine style, simply called Cug. In fact, you can even see him under Peanut Park if you glitch under the map. Then there's a much more creepy cut enemy called a Tramplin' Stew, and it looks like a massive Strollin' Stew that walks on these giant 2 legs. This thing was seen in the original Space World trailer for this game, but people found him in the files and modded him back in. What's creepy about this though is the skull mask that he wears, and you can break off of him if you spray it. Now let's take a look at the Paper Mario series, starting with the Thousand Year Door. One enemy still in the game's code is this rock-looking robot called Okoru. There's no code attached to him, so it's just a design, but it has this visible meter on his head, so maybe he had some sort of charge attack. But if we look at Super Paper Mario, we can find an enemy called Evil Mario that was never used in the final game. He looks the exact same as Mario, except he's always facing away from the screen. Don't know why he was cut, but it seems like he was repurposed for this character Shadow, who is the boss of Flopside Pit of 100 Trials. And this boss is the Shadow version of all the playable characters in this game. Okay, so we quickly gotta talk about one character that was cut out from New Super Mario Bros. DS. You know the manta rays in Mario 64? Well, they were also gonna appear in this game too. There's not really much known about this, other than this beta screenshot from an unused level. But it looks like the shark guys got in, while the manta rays were scrapped. Now remember Blarg from Super Mario World? Well, he was also found in the files of Mario 64, most likely appearing in Lethal Lava Land as an enemy that attacks you when surfing. So it's kinda cool to see Nintendo planned for this guy to appear in his first 3D Mario Mario game a whole 14 years before his actual debut in Mario Galaxy 2. But here's another enemy found in the files called Moto, and he looks like a giant Bob-omb, but like if he was a robot. And he's got these tiny little clipper arms. People restored him back into the game, and he seemed to work exactly like King Bob-omb and the Chuckya enemies. Who knows, maybe this Moto guy was the original design for one of these enemies, or they just thought another enemy like this would be redundant. Looking at Luigi's Mansion again, if you go back and watch the original trailer for Luigi's Mansion back in 2001, there's a scene where Luigi is sucking up these little ball ghosts in the baby's room. These guys never made it into the final game, but people found the models and animations of them. They looked like little ghost bouncy balls that a kid would play with. However, these models didn't go to waste though, because they were repurposed and recolored to turn them into the meteor ghosts in the observatory. Here's an enemy that you've probably never seen from this game too. There's only one screenshot of this guy, and he's a chef-like ghost. He was in the E3 2001 demo of Luigi's Mansion, but was nowhere in the final release. However, after 20 years, modders and fans recreated the same E3 demo and restored that ghost to what he would have looked like in the game. And I think they did a pretty good job at recapturing him. Back to Mario Galaxy, we have this next character that doesn't have a lot of info about it. Its model looks like some sort of whale, but like on a stand or something. People don't even know if this guy was supposed to be an enemy or not, as his only behavior is for chasing after coins in the game. And that's really all that's known about him. Another pretty unknown character found in the files of Galaxy is this guy with the name Torimoti. He has this one animation of him just appearing, but that's about it. There's no gameplay attached to him. Maybe he was gonna be a boss or just a normal enemy, I don't know, but what I can say is that he looks like a Chew with a mustache from Zelda, which I thought was funny. Paper Mario Sticker Star also had a few cut enemies in it. Like there's this cool looking snake, for example, that was found in an early screenshot. He's got like Yoshi's head, but plastered on a snake's body. This one pic is all we know of him, but fans have created custom animations of what he could have looked like. There was also another screenshot showing this mole boss enemy, which was another design we've never seen before either. What I find interesting about both of these characters is that they both have original designs, which is something we've seen only in the early Paper Mario games, but recently they stopped that and just put in generic Mario enemies instead. So maybe Sticker Star was going to continue that, but the idea was unfortunately changed in its development. And now for the final two cut characters, which are honestly the most fascinating for me, and they're both from Super Mario Galaxy. One of the most interesting cut bosses in this game was called the Iceman. He has a pretty awesome looking design from these 3D models, and was supposedly gonna be the boss of the first star in Freeze Flame Galaxy, but was replaced with Baron Burr, which honestly is way more of a lame boss. Who knows why this was done, but I think it was just a time constraint thing, because Baron Burr is literally just a big version of the tiny enemies in this level. Plus, his main attack is to throw chunks of ice, which seems much more fitting of an attack for a boss with giant arms rather than just coming out of a random crown. And finally, possibly the most mysterious and weird enemy in this video is this giant pink piranha plant thing found in the files as Dragon Head Flower. For a while, people didn't even know what this thing was for, as it had some very weird hitboxes on it, so it was hard to even interact with the thing. Eventually though, people realized that it only interacts with you if you're on the star ball, in which he spits you out in another direction. This basically shows that this creature was originally gonna be used instead of the cannons in the ball levels to transport you to different areas. Neat. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see me do more videos like this, and I'll see you later.